it's a magical Monday. I when I was much younger, I heard this song called Manic Monday, the Bangle song, but I'll call it a magical Monday. Thank you for joining us and thank you for doing what you do. Let me start by asking you, the last 7.5, 8 weeks have been very trying, to put it mildly. And I experienced, I tweeted almost 4 weeks back that my mother needs a bed, and my I normally don't put my personal life on
Yeah.
social media, and I could have big calls, but I just wanted to make sure that no time was wasted, and you responded and you tried to help, and luckily my mother is fully well, and my parents are now living with me in the last 1 week. So clearly, I saw you contributing to, and you kept checking on with me how she was doing and if she needed anything else. I've been following you for many weeks now. So tell us how have you used your position, your influence to be able to help people in the last 7 weeks? Of course, we know about your acting and the contribution you made to the entertainment industry in the country. But I want to specifically talk to you about what you saw in the last 7 weeks and what you did in the last 7 weeks to be able to help people.
In the last 7 weeks, what I saw, or I can say nearly a month and a half, I have seen the best and the worst of humanity. I think the best more so. I think the best kind of outweighed the worst. In times of crisis is when you realize that where and how one can, rise to the occasion in a way. Otherwise, normally everyone's pretty complacent about things, and we only hear news which are, which are not happy most of the time. But when a crisis or I mean, this was unprecedented. We've never imagined that we will be seeing a pandemic of these volumes, the way globally the human population is facing. And I have seen so many people just become heroes overnight. And I think that is so just completely fantastic to see that within their means, or whether they could or they could not, however and wherever, people have tried to reach out to each other. And I think that was the most beautiful part of it all. So many of them just putting their own lives at risk, are running from literally pillar to post, trying to organize essentials besides the medical facilities that they are providing to people. So for me, this country is a country of heroes completely. And I thank each one of them, each unknown hero at that time who has risen to this occasion and helped save a life.
And I must tell you, when I tweeted, a lot of people still keep in touch with me who I've never met, never seen, never done anything, and they keep asking me about my mother, how she's doing, and they've been in touch with me purely selflessly. So I have first-hand experience.
I've made so many friends. So many friends through this crisis, and real people, because in times of crisis, then these are the real people. So it's been a wonderful experience.
Partnering with somebody to be able to give oxygen concentrators, to be able to get them whatever needed in this very tough time. Tell us the impact of that, and how did the genesis of that come around?
Well, it was really, really unfortunate to see, all our social media, timelines being flooded with messages, and obviously even on news channels and through media, to see that people are actually gasping, their last breath has been lack of oxygen, which is really, really sad to see that happen. However, it really, I was pretty surprised that that's the basic necessity that a state or authorities can provide to hospitals, and why was there so much of a lag in providing these basic essentials. And I really thought there was something that we all need to do and not wait around for the authorities to take action, because there was loss of life every day, and that is something one can't afford. People losing their near dear ones just for lack of oxygen. Luckily, we in Maharashtra, even though the count was high, and even though it was one of the worst hit states, but luckily there was no lack of oxygen, so to speak. The way what we were seeing in Delhi unfold, and in another couple of states. Um, a few like-minded people and us, we got together and we contributed, and we procured oxygen, and we sent lots to Delhi, cylinders. And honestly, Anurag, that's something that's a question that completely baffles me. Okay, I mean, as a common man, I do know. I mean, common man. I mean, I'm not a politician or a highly influential person or whatever. But as a common man, I could procure truckloads of oxygen, and in a day and a half or two, I could send them across to Delhi. Is my question. Where were all your MLAs and MPs of Delhi, who probably, like, I know over here for sure that all MPs and all Rajya Sabha MPs, etc., they all have have a certain quota of money that they are given to spend for things. If I, from my own pocket, could remove money, buy oxygen, and transport it to Delhi within 48 hours, why couldn't any of a lot of politicians of Delhi do that? Is my question. When they could see that there is such an emergency. And we sent our truck without any problems, without any hijackings of our oxygen, or without any problems. In fact, when one of our trucks was unfortunately got stuck in a traffic jam in Haryana, we contacted the DCP South Delhi. In fact, I must mention his name, Atul Thakur. He's the DCP South Delhi. He is just an amazing person who has done so much of work in this crisis. It was, people could just reach out to them, and he was there, and his entire team was there to help. They cleared the oxygen truck in no time and got it out from the traffic, and where it had to reach, it reached. I mean, so people have come forth to do these things. So my question is, if I could do it, and a couple of NGOs collectively here in Mumbai could do it, why couldn't all your top-notch politicians in Delhi do this? And there is so much money in Delhi. My question is, there is so much money in Delhi. Delhi is known as the money capital. So why couldn't people just put in their money and procure and help? I know.
I think it's about the will. It's about the will. It's about making a difference. So
in 48 hours, we had truckloads of oxygen reaching Delhi. In 48 hours, non-stop they drove from here. There were teams that were driving the truck.
You have to hold
one would sleep behind with the cylinders, and one would drive. One would see. That's how we sent it. So, what happened? My question to you, being in Delhi, is what happened? What really happened there? How could we lose so many lives?
That's a good question to ask. I think that's a very good question to ask, and we must keep asking the questions even when things are better, so that, God forbid, if there is another situation like this, at least we are able to galvanize the people that need to lead and provide for what ordinary citizens and good Smartians have provided. And let me ask you, you did what you could do, and one always hopes that one can do more. One was very conscious about it. Tell me, what has changed in your wiring as a human being over the last 7 weeks? What are your thoughts that came to you in these times of crisis, and in some way have changed you forever as a person, as a human being?
Luckily for me, I do say I'm fortunate, because I believe that people who are kind and compassionate are very, very fortunate people on this planet, because they feel and they can if they can feel for another person, they can also feel what life is all about, and they can enjoy their life also to the maximum. So I'm lucky that my upbringing taught me to be kind, to be compassionate, and that's exactly what I'm teaching my children as well. But so it helping out, reaching out to people, yes, did come naturally to me, and I did as much as I could. जितनी मैं लोगों को बोलती हूँ, जितनी मेरी हैसियत है और जितनी मेरी पहुंच है, मैं उतना कर सकती हूँ. And I know people who've gone out of their way to do things. I must also mention another person who's just been phenomenal in Delhi. Was another, I'm sure you know her, Seetu Mahajan Kohli. In fact, I know of instances where that legendary Padma Bhushan singer who just passed away in Delhi. We tried to help him out, and he and his son did not have a oxygen concentrator, and she herself had one, and I reached out to her, and she personally has gone to drop it to their house, knowing that house is a COVID infected house, and she went there and she dropped it and handed it over personally. So I must mention, and she has done so much more work helping out. So like I said, there were these kind, compassionate people who were lucky. But what really I learned is to face them. There were so many. If there were in a day 3 or 4 good newses, there were about 10 bad news that would come to us, that okay, that patient whom we helped yesterday, or that patient whom we tried to help this morning, or by the time the patient, we got the hospital bed, and by the time the patient reached the hospital, he or she was no more. That was something that I learned. And there was definitely a time, that one night, where I was talking to my friends, and I just vented out, and I just cried myself out. And then I knew that the next morning I had to reboot and start this all over again. Try helping out, making calls to hospitals, to centers, to get oxygen beds, to do this, to do that. And that's one thing that I learned. I think we were almost like what probably doctors and our medical staff feel. They lose a patient, but they know that they have to reboot themselves for another patient and to go out and help again. So I could sense that this is the feeling that they're probably also going through. And and I think one has almost become numb to hearing how many people are perishing in this past year, actually. That it doesn't now come as a very, very deep-rooted shock. I think somewhere a little numbness has set in.
I hope we are not numb. We feel it, and the pain helps us galvanize ourselves to action. I just want to ask you, you're also the chairperson of the Children's Film Society of India. The impact of COVID on children has been tremendous. And we may not have discussed it enough, because we as adults are able to deal with these situations. We keep ourselves busy, but children may or may not express what they are feeling, and they are dealing with something of this kind, where their social interaction, their normal lives have been interrupted. They can't meet their friends, so on and so forth. Tell us, how do you? I mean, you have children of your own, and you know it firsthand what children would have experience. But what do you think can be done to make sure children are safe, and more importantly, from an emotional well-being standpoint, from a mental well-being standpoint, they're looked after?
Well, first and foremost, I think not only for children, I think for everyone, stay home. Only if it's an emergency, please go out, because this India has just battled the second wave, and now there are reports that there is going to be a third wave. So this is not over yet. One cannot let their guard down. Masking up, using of sanitizer, washing your hands has to continue. It has to become a way of life now. I feel bad for the really, really small children who are just growing up in this environment and not actually getting to bond or mix and learn how to grow up with other children around. But I think this really has taken a toll on a lot of kids around. Like you spoke about mental health. I was talking to my children's pediatrician, and he was telling me that you don't know the kind of disorders that children, parents are calling me up reporting about their children. Nervous anxiety disorders. For example, he said there are 13-year-olds, there are 14-year-old boys who have suddenly started bedwetting and biting their nails, or there are different symptoms that everyone's
Anxiety led.
Exactly. So these are all anxiety disorders that are coming to the fore in very, very young people, and that is really so sad. So I think it's very, very important to keep our children engaged, keep them occupied, to keep talking to them. Communication at this point is very, very necessary. In a way, one has to think positively. That under normal circumstances, probably families did not have so much time to spend with each other, but now we are getting that kind of time to spend with each other. So there are things that you need to keep your children occupied with. You need to keep talking to them. If you at this moment get very busy with your things and just leave them to their own devices, this is bound to happen. So right now at this moment, it's very important for a family to stay bonded together, to do things together, whether it's playing games or working out or keeping them engaged or discussing about their friends, or giving them the opportunity to Zoom their friends, talk to them about teenage years, talk to them about everything. I think this is the time to do that. Do not leave your children to their own devices, please, at the moment, because loneliness can really, really set in and probably lead them to do wrong things. So it's very necessary to communicate at the moment. So yes, it is taking a toll on children. My kids, luckily, I don't know whether you saw, just yesterday I posted, I keep running away to my little gaon ka ghar, I call it. We have a small piece of land away from Mumbai, so we kind of keep running away from that, and I keeping my kids busy. We have pets in the house. I think pets is another superb therapy for children, because I have grown up with animals all around me always. I've had a turtle, I've even had a pet snake. So yeah, so that people get pretty shocked with that. It was a baby python. It was rescued, but then I kind of gave it away. So whether it is any kind of pets that one can get, whether it's cats, we have a cat, we have dogs, and my children are busy with that as well. And I think that's one of the best things, because that teaches children kindness, compassion, responsibility, the cycle of life and death. I think having pets in the house is very, very necessary for growing up children. But yes, I have also seen a lot of people that the minute the pandemic or the lockdown opens, they abandon their pets, because now they don't have time for them anymore. They don't realize that even pets are exactly like family. They are your children. You cannot just abandon them. So that is one thing I've seen. A lot of people get in pets and, to keep their children busy. My kids right now are too excited and busy, because this is the second round of lockdown puppies that we've had in the house. So I call them my lockdown babies. My pet, one of my female pets delivered last year, and another of my female pets has delivered 2 puppies now this year. So my kids are completely ecstatic. Ecstatic. Their life revolves around those puppies right now, feeding them, bathing them, giving them their food. So so something, to keep them busy, to teach them things as well. Then we go off to our gaon ka ghar. I keep the children busy, teaching them cleaning, cooking, etc. My son has joined a couple of classes like robotics. So you have to also get children busy with what they are interested in,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And channelize their energy and keep them,
exactly.
Use the time as best they can.
Yes.
And one of the things that you kind of alluded to is that before pandemic, as parents, I have 2 children, you would try to minimize their screen time. One of the...
Now that is something which I honestly have a complaint of, because knowing that the children are spending all their time indoors these days, schools, I think, have very, very long hours. My son goes at 8:15 and is studying till 4 o'clock in school, online in front of the computer. And then after that, he has homework to do, which is also on the laptop. Then he has a couple of tuitions. which he does, that is also online. So as a result, he's spending nearly 12 hours on the computer, which in fact I had even put in a request to the school that why do you need to do co-curricular activities online? Just let the kids go. In fact, co-curricular, teaching them music online or something doesn't make sense. In fact, just tell them to do things away from the laptop. If I had to do a co-curricular class with my children, I would have told them, shut your computer, go read this book. I recommend this book. Let's have a book club thing. Go read this book, and next week we will discuss the book. So spend that time to read that book. Next week, let's discuss the book. Go plant a tree. Go plant, some seeds in a pot. Keep it by your window. Water it. Write down an entire this thing, like a small thesis on germination, on how the plant is growing or how the tree grows and where the roots going. Put pictures up.
Children are overwhelmed, and their social interactions, what we call real life, as you said, they should go out and talk. That has suffered. But the next best thing is what you talked about, looking after your pets, having a hobby in terms of growing plants in your kitchen garden or your terrace garden, looking at the progress. So through real life activities, learning things about life. For our viewers who joined late, Raveena ji has started an initiative she started it 7 weeks back, called Oxygen Seva on the Wheels, Mumbai to Delhi, where she sent oxygen cylinders through a non-profit organization, the Rudra Foundation, to the capital and saved many lives. So kudos to her. Now let me shift gears to a bit of, you come from the entertainment industry. I cannot not ask you about it. In the last 15 and a half months, OTTs have accelerated. And there is this debate, will cinema halls cease to exist? Are cinemas the thing of the past? And if you look at the last 2 weeks in the US and UK, as people have got vaccinated, lockdowns and gone away, people are thronging cinemas. And without taking I'll take name, Rohit Shetty has a big movie, which he's now, he's refused to release it on OTT and is now releasing in August, because he believes that theaters may be back in some way then, and the impact on theaters is a different impact than on OTT. What is your view? Big screen versus a small screen.
My husband is one of the leading distributors of this country, and he distributes movies and is an exhibitor himself. So I will definitely just second what he says. Anil believes that the minute everything opens out, the lockdown opens out, people will throng to the theaters because people have been indoors for so long. They're looking for an outlet. And unfortunately, in our cities, we don't have that kind of gardens or parks or, other recreational centers for people to go to. It's either the malls or it is the theaters, which are more prominently available for every citizen. So people will definitely go back to the theaters. There's no two ways about it. It's just that we have to keep our fingers crossed for these chains of theaters to survive till the time it's all good again. That right now for them, survival is the most difficult part. I'm very closely connected to the problems also the theatre owners are facing. My brother Alok Tandon, he's the CEO of one of the biggest chains, that's Inox Cinemas, Inox Theatres. And he and Anil, I discuss this all the time, and I keep listening to them, and of course putting in my 2 bits as well. So it's just a matter of survival till the time things are better again. Luckily for the United States, that they have bounced back so fast, and they have been able to get their citizens to lead a normal life. How long we are going to face that is a very big question. But there's definitely future for the cinemas again.
Okay. And again, I tend to agree with you. I have to tell you, in middle of February, I went to, one evening, I just decided to go and watch a movie with 2 friends of mine. There were 8 of us in the whole theater, but I loved it. I'm sure more, as
it's
you
an
get vaccinated, it's an experience.
It's an experience, yes.
Yeah. But there are critics who say that, your generation, my generation is very, we romanticize about cinema. But the millennials, the young people, for them, the digital screen is everything. They're screenagers. But I agree with you that a large mass of India would throng back to cinemas as we are vaccinated and we are safe to go out, because we've been bottled up in our homes for too long, and we like to get back to some form of outdoor and connecting with human beings experiences. So I am very hopeful about the future and looking forward to going to a cinema. Let me ask you my last 2-3 questions, and I'll take some audience questions for that. Mr. Tandon, you've seen many other people come forward. You said right up front, some very well-known people, some unknown, people who just were good smartians helping people. Who are you took Ms. Seetu Mahajan Kohli's name, you took Mr. Ajit Thakur's name. But tell us,
I made such great friends. I mean, not it's an apple falls not very far from the tree, but your very own in your organization itself, Ruhail. I have to take his name. He has been such a gem. He has helped out so many people. I'd like to thank Ruhail a lot for that time of actually getting us in touch with a lot of people, and with his entire group and his entire team helping out so many people. Sanjay Raina, who is again from Delhi, is another gem. I'm telling you, the countless people there who I could just sit and name. Aditya Raj Kaul. These are people whom I found. Danish, another friend of mine, Danish Manzoor, who's also from the media. I think have done such phenomenal amount of work.
Absolutely, and I think that's the silver lining in this very dark cloud. But I want to know that who are other people? Who are other people within your fraternity you think have done a lot of work without time? They may have got press and media attention, but they've done very good work. I mean, I keep always saying that people who do good work, even if they get covered, that's the right role models to put forward for the right thing. They've done the right thing in the right manner. So clearly, even if they are being showcased as role model, it's a good thing. Other people should get inspired.
Well, a lot of our industry has put in and contributed in very, very big ways with this entire thing, whether giving to the PM Cares Fund or actually generating stuff for people to reach them directly. So I can name so many of them. I mean, everyone has contributed in their way. Everyone. So it's not that there's one person who got left behind. Whoever had the means has come forward and contributed, and that's what our film industry has always done, Anuragji. Whether there were floods, whether there are any kind of natural disasters, calamities that happen to our country, or even if during wartime, our film industry has always stood forth, and been there. So sometimes when I hear this complete negativity about the film industry, revolving around, it kind of surprises me, because how easily people forget the good that the film industry has done all through the years. During Kargil, I belong to the same film industry, and during Kargil, I remember Salman, myself, Vinod Khanna ji, there was a full troop of us who had gone to actually had to sign a government declaration form saying that if our choppers or targeted, or if our helicopters targeted or something, it's an indemnity bond that we had to sign and give to the government. But we all went to the border, and we went there to cheer up our soldiers who were injured. We went to the Srinagar hospital, the government hospital. We were there on the border. I have flown over the Tiger Top and the Dras Mountains. I actually flew over it to see where all the action was. I mean, I was there at the border where there was firing happening just about 10 feet away from me. So there are times I wonder how people easily forget and just get carried away by someone who's just or anyone who's just spewing negativity around, and they just start seeing only the bad side of everything. I mean, one has to also see the good and all the times when the film industry has stood for our country. at every given time, and most of us have given back into society. Most of us.
Absolutely, I fully agree with you, and I think we have to look at the positive side. I just want to ask you: health and immunity have become even more important, and including mental well-being. How are you looking after your health? Because self-care, one of the things you realize is that while we should and you have helped other people, how does one take care of one's? For the first time, we realize that health is even more important than how we eat, how much we sleep, how much movement we do, exercise we do, how do we keep ourselves mentally in the right frame of mind. Uh, Self-care has become even more important. How are you taking your fitness, your health, your well-being to the right direction?
I think first and foremost, the happiness quotient should be really high. One has to keep yourself busy with your family, with your children, and do the things that you enjoy doing most of the time. It's very, very necessary at this moment, yes, also to keep yourself physically fit. So my husband and me, both of us do put on some online yoga and do some yoga together, and we have fun also. We're laughing, we're falling, we're tumbling, but we're still trying to do it. I work out with my daughter as well. She loves dancing, I love dancing, so both of us just put on some music in the room and both of us are dancing like crazy people, and she teaches me some moves and I teach her some moves. So it's the way that you find what to do and how to keep yourself fit. So for me at the moment here is a lot of just at least 45 minutes of me time where I do some workout, whether it could be yoga or it could be just jumping or it could be just dancing. So it all depends on what is within your means to do. I think one should do that.
Yeah, and again, our diet is equally important. What we eat, how much we sleep. I think a lot of people neglect sleep. I think sleep is the single most important factor for long-term health. If you continuously are sleep deprived or don't sleep at the right time, it has long-term impacts on sleep. You did what you did in these times. How does somebody who has power, influence, let me not use the word power, but has influence and the means, make it a habit to be able to do the things that help the society? Of course, we know that your foundation is active, but what do you plan to do? Hopefully, we will not have a third wave of corona. Hopefully, we're hoping. But what are the plans with your foundation to be able to continue the good work that you accelerated during this COVID time?
Well, like you said, that our Rudra Foundation has been active for a very, very long time now. And before I actually formed my own foundation, I was anyway doing a lot of work. What I need you to do is make people aware through your media platforms as to how they can constantly contribute to fund. It's not only the time of the pandemic. I'll give you an example. I have been working individually for a lot of NGOs, for a lot of, whether it was for the girl child or empowerment, for women. In fact, I think a year and a half ago, I also won the President Award for, I had come to Delhi, in fact, to collect that award for service towards empowerment to women and children. And So Rudra Foundation is formed now, but before that, Rudra Foundation had also taken up a cause where we had our Pulwama blast victims, through Rotary Foundation, because I didn't have a direct reach to them, so through them I channelized, and we forwarded a lot of money, and we took care of the children who were orphaned, whose fathers were killed in that blast. We took care of their education and their upbringing. So there were many ways that Rudra Foundation has been helping generally as well. I do believe that the message that going across has to be that everyone in their capacity can make a difference to someone who doesn't even have that much what you have. So I tell people who are on an ordinary salary and who want to help, who really want to help, I tell them, don't just donate blindly and say, oh, maine to de diya. There are small NGOs that are working in your locality, and even if every month that you get your salary, even if you keep 100 rupees aside. Towards the end of the year, you'll have 1200 rupees. Out of that 1200 rupees, buy some pencils, buy notebooks, go and fund a small street school that is happening next to you. Those children might need books, they might need pencils. So everyone can do, even that 100 rupees can go a long way. So it's not necessary that you have to have millions to help people. You can do it. And there's a very important thing that you said, that one has to have the will. You said at the beginning of the interview, there has to be a will to do it. So if you have that will to do it, even that 50 rupees or even that 100 rupees that you put in anything can feed one meal for a child, or can even buy him books or pencils or a tiffin box.
Absolutely.
So these are things that even normal everybody can do for them, for their local authorities around, organizations around.
Thank you so much. I want to bring a question that I wanted to ask, but one of the viewers has asked. Bhanu Khanna is asking one question, Raveena ma'am: what keeps you motivated and doing good work continuously?
Bhanuji, it is something that is, I think, everybody's responsibility. It's not only that I should be feeling like that. I'm sure you also want to leave a better world behind for your children. कि हम तो चले जाएंगे, लेकिन हम किस तरीके का दुनिया, किस तरीके की धरती अपने बच्चों के लिए छोड़ के जाएंगे. चाहे वो environment wise हो, जहाँ हम अपने wildlife environment को deforestation की वजह से रोज खत्म करते जा रहे हैं, जहाँ आज ऑक्सीजन के लिए, see the irony of the situation, ऑक्सीजन के लिए लोग मर रहे हैं आज, जहाँ के हमारे झाड़ फ्री में ऑक्सीजन सप्लाई करते हैं, और हम डिफॉरेस्टेशन इतने लाइटली लेते हैं. हमें हमारे जहन में नहीं आ रहा कि one day we might not have oxygen to breathe. How much ever factory oxygenated plants we do set up, but ultimately we are killing what God gave us naturally. So whether it is that kind of a world that we want to live, leave behind, or what kind of people are we going to leave behind for our children? There is such a serious need of teaching children, to bring up our children, teaching them kindness and compassion, to help people in need, or just to have that basic compassion as human beings. So it's time that we taught our children humanity all over again, because that is now missing in this world.
Absolutely. And I think Bhanu's thanking you.
Yeah, I look forward to as well.
Yes. And my last two questions before I take two more questions. See, again, you talked of environment. We are on 31st May, and 5th June we celebrate it as the World Environment Day. Today is the World No Tobacco Day, and we have a full-fledged initiative and content done towards that. Now, again, major channels of the world today not only do a weather forecast, they do a air quality forecast. If you look at CNN, every evening it does a air quality index for every major city in the world. The quality of air in every city in India is deteriorating, especially if I talk of Delhi. And we know the reasons. One, most of it is vehicular pollution. The other is industrial pollution. And third is, from time to time, we have pollution that comes from the burning of stubble in Punjab and Haryana, which then carries on forward to Delhi. Now, environment is such an important thing, and we've realized this, just the quality of oxygen that we get naturally is getting diminished. How do we make sure we are able to contribute towards the environment being better? And we now know in pandemic in last 16 months that what happens in one part of the world impacts us. We are all interconnected. So what are the simple things as citizens we can do to be able to contribute to the environment being better?
Well, if I remember, and if the statistics are right, the last year that where everyone was in lockdown, earlier when the entire world globally was in lockdown, I think carbon emissions were actually emitted by 8%, which was a huge thing for all environmentalists, that this is our planet's way of settling scores. I think that they're just locking us down, and the improvement that everyone saw in air quality. So that just shows us to how we need to start rethinking about how we humans live. It is time that a lot of us go back to basics to a certain extent. I think the use of cars, excessive use of cars, I think that, as much as we can, we should try carpool. We should try doing little things in our own way. Recycling is so important. I know of America, such a vast, first world country, blah, 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 etc. But whenever I go to people's homes over there, they barely even heard of recycling things, except for a few very, very aware people. So in fact, I tell them, I said, why don't you all recycle your stuff? Everything just goes in the garbage bin. Maybe the where the garbage collection. Sorry, I just lost you for a minute.
You're back.
Where
for a second. You're talking about garbage. So where there are maybe where the garbage is collected, there they are doing their recycling, or what is happening, I don't really know. But on an individual level here in India, we all can do that. We all can do our wet waste separately. We can do our dry waste, and we, I think, have been since ancient years been a recycling country, because our bangarwalas, our rag pickers, they all actually generate incomes through this. Our old newspaper walas, they've always recycled. So in India, it has been a natural process actually. So even over here, I've taught my kids recycling. My staff, everything that comes. We have separate containers where we put in all the empty cans and the bottles and whatever. And yes, we minimize our plastic usage. We are trying to. So there are many ways you can carpool. You can cut down the carbon emissions. I think the biggest contributor actually is the cattle rearing and the meat producing factories in the world. And scientists say that the day the planet turns vegetarian, 60% of our carbon emissions of methane and everything else will be cut down by 60%. I mean, that'll be magical. That'll probably be the only way to save this planet then later. So there are many ways that you can do it on your own as well. Thank you so much. I want to bring in, since you discussed environment and vehicular pollution, you talk about recycling. We also, the vehicular pollution is a big component. I want to bring in a senior editorial colleague, Mr. Abhishek, who will ask you. He covers auto for us.
I would like to ask you something related to your industry. It's a hypothetical question. Assuming you are the protagonist of the film, you are the director and you are the producer, which person would you like to play the role of? Which biopic would you like to do, which would be a dream role for you, and why do you think so? If you can tell us.
Well, I haven't really thought about this, but there have been so many of our warrior queens in the past in our country. And besides, though very famously we know only Rani Lakshmi Bai ji, but otherwise there have been there's Queen Chautha Abaka. There have been so many unknown queens of the Konkan, of Mysore, of the North, who have completely fought so valiantly in those times. So I would love to bring out all those unknown stories which we were not taught in history.
Okay. Ma'am, my second question is related to the pandemic. Ma'am, as you know, our system of health only supports those who have lots of money. But many people feel depressed because they cannot afford it. There's constant fear of not getting medical attention they deserve because they don't have money. How to deal with these kind of feelings and how to address these issues?
Well, these are actually issues which we are seeing, I think, nearly every day. And unfortunately, whenever there have been a lot of, I can speak for Mumbai. Mumbai has dealt very well with this pandemic, and health has reached out to mostly everybody. There's not been too much of issues that we have seen here, but there are other parts of the country where health and health facilities are really in a bad shape. And I think that is something which each constituency, each local MLA or MP who who has that constituency has to be hauled up to say why has this not happened, because this has been literally trial by fire, where you are seeing that we have the facilities, there have been arrangements made, but it is not reaching the poor man or the common man when it is supposed to reach. That system of ours has definitely failed. So that needs to be addressed with very, very strongly and needs to be completely rehauled.
Okay, ma'am.
Absolutely.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you so much, ma'am.
I want to bring in a person who's been also wanting to ask you a question. She was working till 6 a.m., slept at 6, woke up early in time just to be able to ask you. It's my daughter, Pratna Bacha. And me and Pratna share her birthday. That's why when I grow up, I want to be like her. But let's see what she's
so sweet.
like. Yeah, and Pratna does her own YouTube channel every week. And her book is coming out in August. It's called The Gen Z's. Pratna, why don't you tell the name of the book and ask Ms. Raveena Tandon the question?
Yes. Yeah, thank you. So, ma'am, my question to you is, how do you think our generation can what do you think our generation can do to collectively be a better generation and, be more recognized?
I think first and foremost is all of you need to learn, promote kindness, compassion, because that is what I find missing. Secondly, get off your online smartphones and gadgets and learn to live life and value what this planet Earth is all about, first and foremost. Because I feel what I do find with the coming generation is that they have a lot of friends, but it's all online. They have a lot of connections, but it's all online. But on a personal human-to-human touch is what I find missing a bit. And I think this pandemic has made it worse. But Pratna, also what is very, very necessary for your generation to do is save this planet. Because as you can see, the deterioration that is happening, whether it's air quality, whether it is the kind of pollution, population, poverty, it all is definitely all stemmed together. So it's all connected in a way. And that is exactly what will happen is these natural disasters, pandemics, diseases is something that will be out of human control very, very soon. So this is the time. We are on the tipping point. We are on, according to me, it is the crisis time for this planet. So it is time that we actually start reversing the damage on a war footing.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. I mean, if our generation doesn't save the planet, there isn't going to be a planet left for the generations to come.
And the fact being that yes, to a certain extent, you can blame your ancestral generations for making the mess like we have of this planet and then handing it over to y'all. But you do have to, you guys have to have clubs formed where y'all should encourage more hiking, trekking, going out. We have such beautiful forests in our country. See the natural side of this planet rather than just being from home to classroom to another concrete, get out of these concrete jungles is what I advise all the young folk, and live a life. Smell a flower, see the wondrous creations that nature has for you. It's amazing. Besides just seeing these concrete walls, that is what your generation needs to do.
Yeah, sometimes I wish I was born a little earlier, when phones weren't there, because I feel like it would have been much more fun to live. Like, obviously it's hard for me to give up my phone because everyone around me also has a phone, uses social media, but collectively I wish I was born earlier, slightly earlier, or phones didn't exist, because life would have been, especially in the last
you can do it.
year.
You can still do it. You can still do it. You can still do it. I do it with my kids all the time. I used to take them to the forest now since the parks are closed, but every year, at least twice in the year, we go to some forest in India. And in those days, the kids are not allowed their phones, besides, yes, if they want to film a tiger or film an animal that they're seeing. But no phones allowed, no gadgets allowed. Instead, we play board games in the night when we're together in the hotel room. Then we go for safaris through the day. And we're just being out there in the wild. And I think something which a lot more parents and a lot more children and a lot more people together should start doing.
Yeah, we usually have like a 2-week school trip, which no cameras, nothing is allowed. It's just like trekking, being in nature, and just true bonding without our phones interfering. Sadly, we haven't gone this past year, but otherwise, it's a yearly activity that everyone from the age of 8 has to participate in until you graduate school. Thank you so much, ma'am. So my book is basically about so I interacted with people while interviewing for my YouTube channel. I interacted with individuals like Chef Ranveer Brar, some journalists like Barka Dutt, Ravish Kumar, all people who I personally am in awe of, and learning a lot of things from them. I use the things that I learned from them and then put my own perspective onto it, and kind of made a guide for Gen Z, like not coming as piece of advice from me because I'm nobody to give advice to them, but as somebody who is like the other people in my generation, aspiring to be successful like these individuals. So it's basically a guide from my perspective, including advice and tips and on success and entrepreneurship from these individuals that I look up to.
Great. Congratulations. Please do remember to send me a copy, signed copy.
Thank you.
Amit Rawat is asking, what can be done by a common person like me for contributing to society by balancing social, professional and personal lives? You already answered that in some way, but maybe we can cap up the interview by you reinforcing and saying...
everyone can do a little of their own with whatever capacity that they can, jitni bhi haisiyat hai. Zaruri nahi hai ki you have to be a billionaire to go out and help and reach people, but if you're a billionaire, that's great actually in a way, but if not, हमारी जितनी भी हम लोगों की जितनी भी कैपेसिटी है, जितनी भी हैसियत है, जितना हम कोशिश करें लोगों की मदद करना, हम कर सकते हैं. There has to be a will. आप गूगल कीजिए, आपके इर्द गिर्द आपके नेबरहुड में कितनी सारी संस्थाएं होंगी, आप जानते हैं कितनी संस्थाएं जो अच्छा काम कर रही हैं. रीच आउट कीजिए, उनको डोनेट कीजिए, चाहे आप जिस तरीके से, अगर आप मॉनिटरली डोनेट नहीं कर सकते, क्योंकि कभी-कभी ट्रांसपेरेंसी, काफी एनजीओस प्लीज एक तो देखिएगा कि उनमें ट्रांसपेरेंसी हो, कि जहां आप अपना पैसा डाल रहे हैं वो उन जगह तक पहुंच रहा है कि नहीं, वो पैसा जो आप कोशिश कर रहे हैं करने की. सो वो बहुत एक जरूरी चीज है. और दूसरी बात ये कि अगर आप मॉनिटरली नहीं, तो चाहे लोकल ऑर्फनेज हो या कुछ हो, उनको जाके पूछिए उनकी जरूरतें क्या है, चाहे उनको दाल चाहिए या मिल्क पाउडर चाहिए या उनको चावल चाहिए, राशन चाहिए, या उनको स्कूल बुक्स चाहिए, पेंसिल्स चाहिए, बच्चों के लिए ड्रिंकिंग वाटर बॉटल्स चाहिए, जो भी जिस तरीके से भी आप कर सके उतनी बचत करके आप अपना थोड़ा पैसा सेव कीजिए और वो जाके उनको हर साल दिया कीजिए. आई थिंक इट विल मेक अ वर्ल्ड ऑफ अ डिफरेंस. कितनी ऐसी संस्थाएं जो फूड ऑफर करती हैं, मील्स ऑफर करते हैं. एक तो है अक्षय पात्र, आपने सुना होगा, वो बहुत बच्चों को खिलाने का काम करते हैं, लोगों को खाना खिलाने का काम करते हैं फ्री में. उनको आप डोनेट कर सकते हैं. बहुत सारी ऐसी संस्थाएं जहां आप डोनेट कर सकते हैं और आप लोगों की मदद कर सकते हैं.
Thank you so much, Ms. Tandon. It's been a fascinating Monday morning, and it is truly a magical Monday. You be in spite of such a big celebrities, big star, you continue to do acts of kindness, and that's good karma, and I'm sure it inspires a lot of other people. It's been good to know you and chat with you. We wish you luck in your endeavors through your foundation.